Mind the gap. Anyone been to London for the tube? Mind the gap. There's a gap between the train and where you stand, and if you get your foot stuck in there, bad things happen. So that's why mind the gap. Okay. I'm learning that I'm getting old enough now that not everyone knows what I Love Lucy was, which is scary for me. But we're not going to talk about that. We're going to talk about, does anyone here not know what I Love Lucy is? Sweet, okay. So it's a real quick recoup from a computer scientist perspective. So over here, they had some kind of machine inside of the chocolate factory that was able to pump out things very fast, faster than a person could actually wrap up the chocolates. And over here, they had some kind of like boxing going on, right? And in the middle here, this is what I like to call the SOC, where there's a whole bunch of people doing manual things, trying to keep up with all the alerts and intrusions and breaches and patches, and they just can't keep up, right? So I feel like automation is a little bit of a dirty word because some vendor, I'm a vendor now, right? I switched from services to vendor, but some vendor comes with blinky lights, they claim automation, right? And they might automate part of what's going on, but what they can do is they can create problems where you have a whole bunch of really fast stuff going on over here, you bought the vendor tool, and now your people are stuck with 14 million alerts in an hour and you have no idea what to do. And you can't keep up. And you're actually creating more problems than you're solving. So one of our challenges is always, when looking at an organization, decide, is automation the best strategy? And it usually is, almost always, but it's a matter of, do you implement in a way that provides an end-to-end solution? Or are you creating a situation where Lucy just can't keep up, and what she does, and you actually have a problem that you didn't even have before, which is you have this huge bottleneck you created. So I'm going to go through some of the solutions that are kind of workable in terms of those potential solutions. No silver bullet, but it gives you some things to think about to have the most success out of each option. And there's not one that's going to be better than the rest. So first I just start with, we actually took one of our clients we had for automation products, and there's a lot of studies out there. Anyone heard of Ponemon? They have a bunch of surveys going on. So almost all the marketing data you get in terms of like breach response times and how people get hacked, how expensive are they, comes from the Ponemon Institute, I think owned by IBM. And it's just regurgitating all those stats, but we took some real life examples because we wanted to see, hey, do our clients have the same pressure points as the people that these IBM folks are all interrogating, right? And so here's what we had. We had a client profile with good-sized organizations in healthcare. 30,000 machines. A lot of it was IoT medical devices, along with cell phones, laptops, all that kind of stuff. They had a lot of good equipment in place. And then 10 people, 10-ish, they were also network admins. And I know that nobody in this room ever does double duty at another job, but at this place they were doing other things as well as security. And their gap. So we did some surveying. They could do 2,200 alerts a day, 7 million alerts were generated. Right? And less than 1% were being investigated, and it was only a cursory investigation. This is a very, very normal situation in terms of what security folks have. What we found out was that, we did some research, and 19% of the alerts they were getting were reliable. Out of that, 4% were actually investigated. That's also normal. So we're already seeing a correlation with our client base and with what Ponemon is finding. What that's saying is that out of all the alerts, 19% were high enough in reliability and confidence. The attack was so egregious that there was no denying it was an attack. Out of that, 16% of those, no, 15, math major, sorry, 15% of those were actually investigated. So we're already behind the curve on the most egregious, awful examples of an attack. 2/3 of this time is spent wasted on alerts that they don't quite know what's going on, right? So you're even worse out the gate than you were before. And figuring this all out is a very time-intensive process. When my company and my folks go into an organization, we like to do like a focused threat hunting activity. It's expensive and it requires a lot of attention, a lot of time, right? No one can really sustain that forever in an organization. And no one wants to pay for that either, really, right? You only go to the doctors, the specialists, when you really need to. So there really wasn't a way that, how do you put this? There wasn't a way that anyone could keep up that level of intensity long term anyway. And so we knew that these numbers were, probably on someone's good day, really. We found out that it doesn't take much to exceed the tradecraft knowledge of most SOC operators or investigators, simply because they have so much data. They have a quota normally every day of like 2,000 alerts or something like that, and they're just trying to get through the quota during the day and get back home. And that's why they have something called SOC burnout, which I know nobody here has ever felt burnt out, but it does happen in security, believe it or not, where people will quit just because they just can't keep up, and there's no hope in sight. So we did some numbers based on my services contracts, and what you find out is that these numbers actually were pretty accurate. This is from Ponemon, again, the surveys. So they're taking 200 hours per week investigating in a team normally, 98 days of dwell time. That's in financial institutions, but normally very well funded, have a ton of security people. It's a lot longer. My record so far for a 0 day, we're always under NDA. We never violate the trust of our clients, but sometimes you find something and you can't tell anyone about it. All you can do is wait. So far, our record is over 4 years for a couple of investigations that nobody else has found yet. And all we can do is sit there and wait. So that goes to show you that this is a problem that's not going away. When they say like APT attack, advanced, persistent, and they're a threat, yeah, they're advanced. They're bypassing antivirus and all that kind of stuff. They're going to stick around. They're incentivized to do so, and they're obviously a threat because they're infecting all these people. I will say that we have never been in an engagement before that the organization has been squeaky clean. We have always found malware, always. It's just because it's not detected, it's not there, right? Any questions so far? This is kind of like the boring, marketing stuff, huh? Okay, so let's go through this. So I did some numbers on my spreadsheet as if it was a service contract, and I wanted to fully staff this organization, right? I assumed, based on our real knowledge, that 15 minutes per alert to actually look at it and see what's going on. Someone really fast, they can cut that down, but no one can really go at breakneck speed all the time, right? So 15 minutes is pretty realistic to get to the quota. There was almost all the alerts were there, and they go up in complexity. Ended up costing 6,000 SOC analysts. This is the place has they have 7, So 6,000 SOC analysts needed, $238 billion in costs. That didn't include my profit margin. That was just straight up getting labor costs, And yeah, I told them, of course. I showed them, and it was who has that kind of money? Not even DoD does that. So it was a problem, right? So I don't think it's a people problem, because if we scale this down to say that somehow you get your employees, your SOC analysts, to work at breakneck speed and analyze every alert for 1 minute. They have 1 minute per alert, 8 hours straight, no breaks, right? You only need 570 analysts, right? So obviously the analysts are lazy and just need to kick it up a notch, maybe 30 seconds, get down a couple hundred. Now this is a mid-sized regional hospital. It's a very stereotypical situation. So whenever they say you hear, we can train more people, that's great, Who's going to pay for that? I don't know who ever has that in their budgets for people, right? Let alone equipment, let alone downtime, let alone attrition, because they're working at a feverish pace and they're quitting and saying nasty things to you. The costs go way up, and we'll talk about that a little bit more. No heckler so far? Are we still good? Okay, cool. Okay, so we have this. By the way, high means that actually required a higher level of understanding to know what's going on. So if I find someone like a hacker, maybe we'll say tricking encryption or doing some crazy things that aren't normal, that requires multiple knowledge, maybe a master's degree or a PhD, or just a whole lot of street smarts, then that goes in the high bucket, and that normally is where there is actually a real infection going on. It just takes more time to analyze. I have had some 2 weeks actually pretty aggressive. I've had investigations that have taken me 6 months to find out what was going on. Normally it's people that are very good at their tradecraft. Just working with that, guys. Okay. Now, the first is, I want to talk about some mitigation strategies, because I think, can we all agree that hiring more people is good, but not going to solve our problem with the SOC risk management? So, again, I'm a vendor, right? I will sell to MSSPs They are IT service providers that specialize in security. That can mean anywhere from I can start a Cisco firewall to I worked and built a Cisco firewall. There's a whole bunch of range in cost and effectiveness. What I was seeing was that there were these pitches going on where it was, Mr. and Mrs. Client, I know you can't find more SOC analysts, especially not 600 of them, right? And we have the best of the best. And for $9.99 a month, we will give you 25 of the top principal FireEye investigation analysts, and it'll cost you $1,000, right? And that was what they were saying, and it always left the client the impression that I saw that the ones who were smart enough and jaded enough, I should say, the ones who were jaded enough, that's a really good way of putting it, were actually, like, they call them out on it. But essentially what it was is, if your organization can't find all these mysterious hackers that are gonna like save your SOC, then what makes you think that the MSSP does? You're all fighting for the same people. You're all on Indeed, on Monster.com, and recruiters are calling like crazy. Does anyone get recruiter calls? I know I do, every day, all day. And they ignore the fact that I'm a CEO, and now I have junior help desk IT person, and I'm like, thanks. The point is that there's no hidden tribe of Brazilian hackers, waiting to be found. And we just solved our SOC analyst shortage problem. That doesn't exist, right? That's a marketing and sales ploy. So just know that what you might be outsourcing is not that all of a sudden you added 1,000 analysts that will give you the best attention in the world. What you're really getting is that all of that churn and burnout and everything else, that's now someone else's problem. So you're saving on HR costs, really, because now they're dealing with all that instead of you. Tuning. So can someone tell me what IDS or firewall tuning is? Anyone willing to share? Okay, that's fine. So 7 million alerts is a lot, right? If I know my network well and I can get that down to 5 million alerts or 1 million alert, it's even better, right? You have less to look at. So you have the idea of tuning things down. What I've found is that that creates blind spots in your risk management strategy. Because what happens is you may say something is not really good. Oh, this always hits every day. Kind of like with the Target breach. They got this weird generic malware.virus report from FireEye every day, hundreds of times a day. And they didn't have time to go after it. It didn't give any details. Wasn't really their fault. So it was kind of like tuned out, like it wasn't really on the radar. That happens all the time. What I've seen is that a new trend, which is kind of scary, is that the alerts that the outsourced MSSP is giving sometimes aligns with their sales cycle, which means that they kind of give you some reports around time to renew your contract. They'll give you more attention, which is common, right? What that means is, I'm like, okay, so it's January and it's time for renewal, and you gave me all this great information. Where were you in November? Because I have people calling me now saying their credit card was hacked, right? So what you want to see is make sure you have visibility into exactly what's going on. The more you understand their tuning practices and what they are seeing but you are not, the better off you're going to be. Because as we're all getting better at risk management, it's not about having no risk. It's about understanding, okay, what is that MSSP doing for me? Because when you know that, now you know whether to implement additional risk strategies or whether you feel you're good enough. And in terms of quality, I already mentioned this. I do see where there are security organizations, some of them very large, that are offering these cutthroat prices. And remember back to Lucy, where it's a very manual exercise? Well, those people cost money. So if they tell you they have 10 of the best people in the world look at your stuff, but they're charging you less than what your intern makes, there's a mismatch there, right? So you need to be very aware of that. But that will come out of the wash whenever you have a better insight into their practices of what they're doing with their data. We do have some people that actually will set up their own open source SIM and IDS setup on the side, just to kind of keep an eye on things to see if things are being missed. You're not trying to trick your MSSP, because everyone misses stuff. I don't recommend doing that, because you will eventually find something they don't. But what you get instead is you'll have more visibility in what they're doing, right? And you can follow kind of parallel practices. So we normally recommend that if someone has the ability, if you have the person all the time. If not, then just, it's like the whole game, don't create logs you won't look at ever, that you would delete in a month. Management, I think I already talked about this, but trust but verify, right? Find good people, find people you can work with, because when times get stressful, it's almost like a marriage, right? If you're really not, arguing a lot when things are good, guess what? When things are bad, it doesn't get better, right? So find people you trust to work with, but then check up on them, understand what they're doing. The more you know about their practices internally, that they might not want to share, the better off you're going to be in terms of being responsible and to manage your security program effectively. Any questions there? I just dogged like my whole industry, so I want to make sure that.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So, I'm just taking a guess here, but is it very common when you meet up with companies and reveal things, or maybe are trying to get them to reveal things? Do you find that it can create awkward situations? Like, do they, get upset or be reluctant to share with you certain things?
MSSPs, if they're looking to secure stuff and I'm about to expose, like if I'm working on behalf of a client of theirs,
Right.
and it's going to expose something embarrassing, things can get awkward. Yeah.
Okay.
I have asked to leave the room before, be like, I don't want to be involved in this, because we sell an automation product, right?
Right.
Or a couple of them.
Right.
In terms of clients, it seems like clients are pretty open as long as you engage in that trust. I'm a very technical engineer. I'm a principal engineer before I decided to start a company, right? Which is debatable on the quality of that decision and my work-life balance, but we're not talking about that. So the point is that once you build that street credibility with the client, then they want you to not waste their time. And so the good clients that I really love to talk to will tell me what they have, because then I can give them a straight shooter answer and say, I work with that, or I don't, or let me get back to you if I do work with that, right? The more they communicate to me the requirements, the more I can do a good job. It reminds me of in World War II, when the UK spies first met with NSA didn't exist then, but like the US spies, and there was all the engineers, and all the spies were like, don't disclose anything. And all the engineers got in the room, and next thing you know, we're D-Day together, and we're cracking secrets, and that whole program. Getting people to talk tech talk, right, understand their needs, really allows for really good collaboration. And now you have a real partnership going on because I'm going to react to your needs better. But if you don't tell me, yeah, that's happened before, where I pitched the wrong product and they didn't tell me, and they told me later on, and I'm like, well, you told me you wanted peanut butter jelly. Like, I gave you peanut butter. It's like my kids, So, and they yell at you because they wanted pasta, and you're like, well, sorry, So, I can't insult customers. I've been told that by my marketing guy. So, any questions? Cool, let's keep on going. Okay, so new technology, blinky lights. Remember, I am a vendor, so take half of what I say and believe it, and the other half and throw it away, right? Okay, so what I did was, wow, that really did not go well. So if you want me to send the slides over at some point, let me know. So what I did was, first of all, I used Kibana for the SIM, because I don't like picking on vendors that have a SIM or whatever, because it's not always their fault. It's just we're dealing with limited data and security operations sometimes, right? I don't want to fault one vendor. So what happens is in the SIM is that I had a 3-day attack. I paid one of my old NSA operator buddies to go and I set the whole business for him. Active Directory server, email, credit card server, everything. I said, go and hack my stuff. Here's the malware. You cannot use my network to pivot and attack someone else. I said, that's the only rule. Don't send me to jail, right? So I paid like $500 and some beer. So what happened was that I had a great opportunity. I had all this data of real life breach. Like he went after credit cards. And, he left nothing unturned in that network, right? He had a ball. He forgot to bill me actually. I had to just send him a check in, one day. He asked me what it was for. That's really weird. But anyway, so he had a ball. He took everything. So I used a whole bunch of automation technologies to show what it would be like to have associations built, like we would love to have in our SOC, to be able to knock out a bunch of alerts at once, right? Out of the 3-day attack, I tuned everything to be perfect. I replayed the data through, and the SIM, which we can't see, but that SIM over here says just short of 66,000 alerts, right? With IPs, some description, some were right on, some were not at all, right? But I had done tuning and done the shaping and everything to get out. So what you're seeing here is this is peak evolution in terms of automation for the SOC, right? As it currently stands, 66,000 alerts for people to chase down. Remember the capacity of 2,000 alerts a day? Well, that one breach took 3 days, and they nuked the whole system. It's going to take months to go through all the alerts, right? To figure out what's going on. The alert names here, there's alert signature. Some of them were just off the mark. They were describing random things that might be malicious. And that's the great point, is that the hackers love to stay outside of that 19% of obvious egregious alerts. They love to stay in the rest of the noise, which nobody really has time to go through. And that's what we're highlighting here, is that the best of the best, everything happens right, you're still up with tens of thousands of alerts, and you go to CIO, are there any CIOs in here or CISOs? Or security directors? Okay, I'm sorry, by the way. But, coming from a threat hunting perspective, one of the lessons I learned, a much younger Dennis actually learned some very crucial lessons by being asked to leave. But was when you go to the IT director's office or the CIO or CISO, and you say, I found a breach, I'm sorry, you're screwed. Which, again, that's why Dennis got asked to leave, right? So you very gently coax your CISO into saying that for you, right? And what happened was that every single time we find a breach, and we find a lot of them, or an intrusion, they always ask for the 5 Ws. Like, okay, who are they? Which is hard, but what are they doing? Where are they? What users are infected? What credit card numbers are taken? Were there recordings from the boardroom webcam? Stuff like that, right? You want to know the exposure to the business. A list of 60,000 IP addresses and port numbers and date and times do not answer those questions. They actually create more problems than they solve. It's good to have the intel, but it's not solving the business problem. It's actually just giving you lists of information. There's an old game in I won't name contract companies, but there's large service companies that will, you give them a terabyte of data to solve some business problem for you. And they come back with 5 terabytes of data without any answers at all for you. You have more data now. That's like a classic contractor problem, right? And from a customer perspective, right? It's kind of like that. We just gave our CISO, who's already overworked and tired, right? We just gave him a whole bunch of data. He's going to be able to do it. All we can do is go to the board and get yelled at because he doesn't have answers, right? And now the lawyers come in because there's compliance issues and everyone else gets rounded up, but you still don't have the answers you need. It takes time to develop those answers. So that's the best case. Do you have any questions so far?
What's that in like one sentence? What does that show us?
What that will show you, and I'm glad to share the slides. Here you have like basically the date, time. There's like a category, like a bucket saying.
You have a big picture, just 3-day breach.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. All of whenever your firewalls or intrusion detection systems, they're generating alerts saying, "Hey, this is suspicious. Go ahead and look at this." Right? There's this big sea of ones that are probably bad, ones that are really bad, almost definitely in that 19%. And then there's a whole bunch of ones that are in this category that the hackers love to hide in, that I've always found alerts in that indicate a breach. And there's a sea of low confidence alerts. And what that means is kind of like, it might be real, it might not be, I don't know. It might take me a month to find out. It might take me, a day to figure it out. So what this shows is out of the 7 million, I was able to whittle it down to 66,000 for one event based on a bunch of technologies that deal with SOC automation, where they'll do correlations of all 10 of these machines use the same user agent to contact, or the same piece of information to contact one server. So okay, everything going to that server is bad. Let's go ahead and lump that all together. Stuff like that going on. There's some great technologies out there to do that with some very smart people. You can remake them in your own if you have time, but it's easier to let PhDs to work. So this is showing like the peak of evolution in that everything went right. And it's great to have an example of that because you see that when everything goes right, things are still going wrong, right? But it's better, this is a lot better story. This is a hard, possible story, not a impossible 7 million alert story. Does that make sense? The trick is, and this isn't a vendor pitch, our focus is actually to bridge the gap between this and the 5 Ws that Mr. Cisco needs. Okay, yeah, things we can't see. Well, there you go, okay. I ruined my own pitch. So this is a much more realistic situation. So I took the malware. This is very realistic, and you should expect this in your daily operations. So lots of companies are constantly putting out new IDS alerts, new firewall alerts, new rules, new heuristics for behavioral analysis, all kind of cool things, right? What happens is that I had a great opportunity. I was trying to find some advanced malware that didn't hit very well, because I wanted to show an example of what's more realistic. That I don't have 6,000 alerts, but for the same thing, I have like these 5 alerts or 6 alerts that aren't really all that meaningful, that unless it was like my folks in there doing a concentrated, eyes-on activity, it would be missed. The company that made the signature for this tool happened to be from Palo Alto. That is not a knock on them. It is just, this is the way we are, right? They saw a new variant of the malware. They changed the signature. the signature they created and updated all the firewalls with did not work against the existing intrusion data I had now. So I went from 66,000 alerts to like a few. And there are weird things like, hey, someone downloaded an EXE, I don't know. You know, it's like stuff that you wouldn't ever really have time to go after, right? So this is the exact same activity, and you can see that got 6 alerts, they'd be missed. Sorry. So what happened was that your automation created a huge gaping hole in your risk management because the AV alerts didn't line up perfectly, all the automation lined up perfectly. So the lesson here is not to trash one vendor, right? This happens to me as well, and when we maintain our alerts. What this says is that we can't trust automation 100%. We need to get as close as we can using machine learning and AI if that ever comes to become data from Star Trek reality. But like what we need to do is we need to be very cognizant and find ways to automate the way that we can smartly look at the things that we aren't looking at right now. And one way to do that is outsource to add extra personnel. Another way you can do that is to add more personnel internally as well to kind of double check on the things that maybe your MSSP takes care of alerts. Like maybe your MSSP is here, and then maybe you're here. And hold that thought. I don't want to ruin my meme. Yeah, okay. So one of the goals you can do is take someone internally, which works really well. Another solution. And if you would take a motivated person, I love taking people with like very little knowledge on security or IT admin in terms of experience. Like not a jaded old guy like me, but like someone who's like still bright-eyed and bush-tailed and runs in the CISO's office and he found something, right, when he gets kicked out. So what they do is they will, I call it chaos monkey kind of funding, where like they will have to give them access to traffic, alerts, whatever you got to do. They will find things. They will find XP machines that are like still around with like lists of credit cards on them. They will find crazy SSH tunnels out to like Russia. I mean, they will find incredible things. They will also learn more about your network and be a more effective employee than you have ever had before. Does everyone's IT department, are they always in sync with their security department for every one of you? Great, so I finally found a client.
I'm both, so.
Oh, right, the same. So you can yell at yourself in the room.
Yeah.
Like Fight Club, yeah.
I get to fight with myself every day.
Great. I'm the worst boss, too. What we do is you actually find out that there's some great bridge building between the IT department and the security department, because you're able to identify servers that they didn't even have that running. So it was an aisle 17 in the data center, and they had no idea that it was this old HP license they were still paying for that was doing things unpatched, or it was doing unsecured communications out to some FTP server out there. It happens, always, and it's great. And then every now and then, they will stumble upon a breach. Now, the trouble is, back to the management side, once they start finding things, it's not a technical lesson, says to my younger self, it's not a technical lesson on when and how to engage management. It is more of a managerial experience one, where you don't want every single time you find something possible to bust into the door, and then say, I got something, and then it turns out 3 days later you actually do have something, right? You have to train them to make sure you get answers. But the good news is that if you want to remove intrusions from your network, this is the best way to do it. To have someone just run amok inside your network looking for stuff. They will start finding stuff. They will not stop finding stuff until they're told to move something else. And even then they might be angry, right? Because they're emotionally invested now in protecting the network, right? It's their baby, right? So and I just have this, sorry, but just to be kind of sarcastic now, if you find too many breaches sometimes, there is a certain patience level where kind of remember that your boss is always going to get yelled at too, right? Because it always rolls one or the other. And timing and giving good information is very important, not just jumping up and down and turning on the fire alarm every time you find something, right? That it needs to be, and that's something that comes from maturity that they'll learn with coaching to gather the information, resist that urge. The first second you find something, don't bust into the boardroom, right? Get that information first, find out as much information as you can, let the automation tools you have kind of find the rest of the infection, and get something more comprehensive than you found one machine somewhere that has something. It's usually never one machine, it's usually more concentrated attack by the time you find something. Any questions? And you didn't storm out, so I'm really happy. I made HR and our Michael be happy. That's great. Okay, so defensive in-depth thinking. If you haven't realized already, what I'm trying to drive home is that there's no silver bullet, but there are things you can do. And there are good things and bad things for each one of those actions, each one of those genres. And the important way is that none of us are really naive anymore. We've been doing this kind of hacking thing for many years now, all of us, or at least read about it or been exposed to it. And even though we all have the same level of gray hair, I think we're at a point where we realize that it's just hard work, right? It takes managing that risk every way we can to mitigate that risk and bring it down to the most acceptable level possible. Automation is a huge play for that. But you have to be careful when you do that, right? So that we make sure, back to this slide, right? Don't create gaping holes in your risk management strategy because you trusted the vendors and all the blinky lights are blinking, but you're not actually managing the risk. A huge breach just got by and you were completely blind. A person might have caught this. Maybe you're a young chaos monkey person, right? Would have caught this and looked in places no one else looked. Stuxnet was only found because someone at Symantec looked for an outlier and something looked weird. And he looked at it and he said, the more he looked at it, the weirder it got. And then it kind of went from there. Okay, so what we learned, so I think the best thing you can do, honestly, is to increase the amount of alerts that you produce. The more information you have, the better chance everyone has to actually go ahead and do a good job. Your chaos monkey young guy, let's say that, or a young girl, that's like a unicorn, like a security hacker or female, again, it's like so rare. So and they make all the male employees behave better. That's all I'll say. Yeah. So my point is that go ahead and find someone that can do that kind of work. They'll do a really good job. Pump up the number of alerts. They'll stumble into things. If you don't have the alerts, you will never have the alerts. Every single zero-day infection we've had, we go back and we look and see, and there were always alerts being generated when the client had them turned on. They weren't being looked at, no one had the resources, but they were there. So if someone tells you that there's no alerts being generated, it is not an alert problem. It is a understanding and analyzing the alerts problem. It is a management exercise now on after the alert. It is not a situation where, unless you tune them out, but it's not a situation where we don't write technology nowadays to produce alerts. There's enough behavioral analytics and everything else out there. It's just understanding, analyzing, and automating everything afterwards. I have 5 minutes left. Holy, okay. Do you have any questions before Okay, so I'm going to give you like a really quick dive into ransomware. And so the idea with ransomware is the evolution has happened, is that the whole goal of the ransomware author is to actually go ahead and make you pay the ransom. We were watching ransomware go down while we were still on the phone with clients. It was being detonated. When they were trying to remove the ransomware, it was being detonated. So we realized from our perspective, the risk management of ransomware has to be to automate the decryption process, to not worry about trying to catch it beforehand, because we're not. Remember back to that 200 days of the hackers sitting around the network, doing whatever they want? Well, it takes 5 minutes to blow up a ransomware sample, so 200 days is quite a long 5 minute periods. So what happened was that we got to watch the maturity of the ransomware as it's been evolving over time. Anyone seen their articles on like SOC putting out free decryptors at all? So those are like 2015 kind of stuff. They're releasing them for free. I'm gonna put out one of those like Family Guy grinds my gears memes on LinkedIn probably. Follow me on LinkedIn if you want. It says like, I really hate because they're saying stuff like, we have these decryptors. And I'm like, that's like the flu shot from 2000. Why are you getting this out to us? Because it doesn't work anymore. And we're actually right here, right now. So what happened is that they're using proper, we'll skip right over, they're using super strong proper AES encryption, which is like NIST standard, right? They're using RSA, again, very strong to protect the actual key so that no one can get to it easily. And they are even setting up so if, this is new, if law enforcement goes to grab the keys from the server, they have it set up now where they will delete all the keys. So they'll detect the tampering and wipe everyone's data out. Because I guess they figure at that point they might as well just nuke everything, right? Like a good criminal. So that's where we are now. And what's happening is all of the easy stuff has been taken care of. We're down to here now. So we actually had, in our company, we spent a year now developing a product that will decrypt. I don't know anything else like it out there. I asked, because I don't want to make something, but here we are. And it will decrypt all of that for you. Has anyone seen a ransomware notes ever? So did it say anything about files being in order and not to delete anything?
I don't recall, I don't think so.
It's kind of a shock and awe moment, I know. Like, yeah. So what it normally says is, in terms of the maturity, this is old AES encryption. Are any students in here? So if you cover this in class, the AES encryption, you can look for ECB. ECB is like notoriously not good, right? But what it does is it applies the key over and over and over. Well, the new stuff actually, it puts in multiple variables. So whenever I talk to like an MBA, they're like, oh, you just find the key. And I'm like, it's so easy, I know. But what really is going on is I have to map out all these variables, figure them all out, and then file A, file B, file C. The key gets changed and everything to go into file B, and then it's deleted from file C. If I delete file B, what happens? So you just kind of screw yourself, right? Because you can't do anything else, right? We have clients do that. We're like, oh, I can file delete it, boom, and then you're kind of in a bad spot then. So whatever like the hacker note says to like not change the files, it's very important because they're using the newest NSA certified AES encryption to go ahead and chain all of the files together. So you can't just grab a key here and just keep on going. You have to be very careful how you do that. And yeah, profits are way up in ransomware. It's like 5% growth in this last year. I think what's going to happen on the automation side is that as defenders, we're getting better automation. We're starting to learn how to use machine learning more and stuff like that. On breaches, on those attacks, attackers are pretty well automated on breaches. They're learning how to do automation properly on the ransomware side. What that means is they're learning what price points are best. So right now, they're charging like, what, $400,000 for a place, and then you find the recovery cost in Baltimore is $18 million. The hackers are seeing that, and they're saying, I should have charged $17 million, right? And so what we're seeing is the insurance companies are getting really nervous because the payouts are going up exponentially. So profits are up in ransomware, invest in ransomware, really. What we're seeing is that they're getting a lot crazier and better on the tradecraft. They're going after backups now, and they're in the backups, we're deleting them. They're going after network resources, things that really put the most pressure on you to get that ransom. That's all they care about, right? And the more savvy you are in terms of your defenses, the more hurdles you have to overcome. So the Johnson City ransomware incident, you ever read about that? So they got hit by ransomware. They have recently changed, they probably both have been burning still, honestly, from vendor solution backup A, and they just got done implementing vendor solution backup plan B, right? The hackers knew to automatically go after solution A. They did not know about solution B. From risk management, that means that your ability to mitigate risk was dependent on how good and knowledgeable the hacker was. I guarantee you that people who did that read the news the next day and read that CIO who was like, look how good I am, you know, just, okay. Better than saying I got fired, right? But like, they got away pretty, I mean, they were still down for a few days, which could be a lot of money, right, for disaster recovery. But if the hacker had decided and known to check for vendor B on the backup, the new one, then it would be a much different press conference. It would be a total devastation network at that point, like it had in Baltimore. So whenever I see these companies, or these cities and companies, and they're kind of saying, we got lucky, luck is not a good risk management strategy. They're automating, and they're automating more and more capabilities. They're automating turning on machines that are turning off now. So they can even, if it's like at midnight and machines are off, they'll turn them on for you just to encrypt them. So they're learning to be automated more and more. And we need to be able to catch up on the defense side, because right now they're winning in a big way. And when ransomware are going up exponentially, it's going to be a big problem for any customer we have. All right, well, thank you. I hope you all kept with me, and it was good and entertaining.